Welcome to the Real Estate Investing Podcast, where we help you unlock your potential freedom through land investing, real estate investing, and entrepreneurship. Hey everyone, this is episode 136 of the Real Estate Investing Podcast, interviewing Wayne Thompson. I'm your host, Daniel Apke, joined again by Wayne. Welcome to the show once again, Wayne Thompson.
Hey, Dan. Thanks for having me back.
So Wayne has been a member of the community for quite some time now, and he's shown extreme amount of consistency and just dedication to the land flipping business model. We had Wayne on episode number 92 back in October, and we talked about how he got multiple deals in under 30 days, and we're going to follow up on all of that. So if you haven't listened to that, make sure to go back and listen to episode 92. But since a lot of people listening, Wayne, probably have not heard that first episode, briefly walk us through your journey early on starting out.
Yeah. Again, thanks for having me back on the podcast. I'm glad to give an update on the story and where it's gone thus far. My background, we started in early 2020 in real estate investing as a whole. We tried the wholesaling route. It was challenging. We tried the house flipping route, obviously challenging. Driving for dollars and being able to find deals was probably the hardest part of all of this. But my wife and I were very committed to being in real estate in some type of facet or fashion. And what we decided to do is like kind of just find our niche. Like, unfortunately, like within 2020, I was laid off from a software position. So we had a little bit of money saved up. So we were like, what can we find in real estate? Unfortunately, nothing panned out like short term. We couldn't really figure out like where to go and what to do. So it just happened to be maybe about a year and a half had gone by. So we were talking like late 2021, early 2022, and we came across land flipping. And honestly, I thought it was a little bit of a scam, a little bit of like, I don't think this, like people don't really buy land like that, but that just kind of proved my ignorance. And thankfully, I was able to come across the Land Investing Online podcast. I actually found it on YouTube, and I just went blazed through every single video, just went through all of it and was just learning as much as I could. And then when the time came, we had some money set aside. We took the plunge and we dived in the coaching program, and the rest is history.
So how much time from starting, what month did you start again?
August 1st is when we
So you
first
started
began.
August 1st, 2022.
Yep.
I actually remember having the consultation with you prior to you joining, so that's all ringing a bell here. How
Yeah.
much time did it actually take to get your deals?
Yeah, so my first deal, I think it was 18 days from the time I jumped in the course or 18 to 20 days, something like that. Forgive me on the minute details, but it was definitely less than 30. I jumped in right away. I was coming from a work trip back from the West Coast, so I had 5 hours to kill on the plane, and I just dove into the pricing modules and just learning as much as I can. I wanted to get to action. I built courses before in the past. I've also been a part of a lot of courses, and I understand that the main difference between the people who have success in these programs and the ones that don't are the ones who take action, right? The content's great. The content's probably going to be pretty consistent. But if you take action, you're going to see results. Take action and have consistency, you're going to see results. And if you don't, you're just going to kind of delay what you're looking for to happen, right? So I dove in right away. As soon as I got back off the plane that next Monday, I think I sent my mail out. I priced it on the plane and a little bit off the plane, and I sent the mail out and got a deal back in about 18 days or so.
So you got a purchase agreement back in 18 days. Was that first purchase agreement you got back? Did you negotiate? Did they call, or did they just send it in?
Yeah, she called in. We spoke on the phone, and I think another commitment in this game is to really get on the phone with sellers quickly. I have an answering service. I listened to one of the podcasts, Dan. You were talking about like, getting those hate calls and how it really kind of diminishes your faith, right? It kind of like hits you a little bit harder. Obviously, if you don't have the budget for that, you got to do what you got to do. But
Right.
I know for me, I wanted to have confidence going forward. So I got an answering service to kind of take all the hate calls. She was one of the first ones that was really interested in selling her land. Got on the phone with her, negotiated a bit, not a ton. She didn't give me a ton of wiggle room, but thankfully, due to the help of Ron and Dan, I priced my first county pretty good, and I had a lot of room to be able to make a lot of money in the deal.
So how much room are we talking? What that first deal look like?
Yeah, so it's funny that we talk about this first deal because I had it under contract. We have been under contract with this deal 3 times, from just fickle buyers, who some were cash, some were somewhere like had to get financing. But it ended up that first deal, we bought it at 42. We ended up selling it. Actually, we closed on this first deal. This very, very first one, we closed on the 20th, and it's going to be for 67.
Nice.
So we wanted like north of 84 when we first did it, but there was a defect within the land, and
Yeah.
that just proved a little bit challenging. But that first deal taught me a whole lot about the process and kind of getting it to this point. But since then, we've closed several other deals in between then, so it didn't make us lose confidence in the process.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not like you're losing money or anything. You still made a fair chunk of change there. That's not nothing. I mean, buying for what'd you say, 40 and selling for 60?
Yep, buying for 42, selling for 67.
67. So there's still wiggle room, and if margin like that is your worst margin yet, that's kind of saying something because there's a lot of business models that would eat that all day. And let's
Absolutely.
talk about some deals in between because I know you have several. Well, actually, let's just fast forward. So that last episode was from October. Let's fast forward to
Yeah.
today. What kind of deals are you doing? What's your business look like? What's your numbers look like? What are your goals?
Yeah, the goals. Well, I'm gonna give you my goals from the last 6 months. So my wife and I we gave ourselves 6 months in this business to find out if it was going to be profitable, if it was going to be successful. If we made any type of profit within that 6 months, that gave us the confidence to say, let's go ahead and go forward. We started sending out, about 1,500 to 2,000 pieces of mail because we did not know what was going to happen when we sent out mail, so we wanted to ease our way into it. We bridged up and we got to about 4,000 pieces of mail. I think in January we sent out. Throughout that, we've got back about like solid. We probably got back 20 purchase agreements within that time. As far as real deals though go, we probably fiddled down to about six, right? And they're all in like varying stages. But let me give you some details on one. There was one in we had one deal. I sent out the mail. We offered 22. She wanted 53. Right, we were really confident in this deal. Long story short, I could give you the really long detail on that deal. We sold it for 90, 0 days on market. Right, so the day that we bought the land, we closed that very same day. So bought 53, sold for 90. One
Wow.
deal that we just did last month, I was a little bit like timid on this because like once we got those like these deals under contract, you start getting a lot more minimum and you feel like you got a little bit more juice, right?
Yeah.
So there was a deal that we had. We took it down for 73 and change, and we sold it for 170.
Oh
We
wow.
sold it with 0 days on market again. The
73 for
challenge
170?
73, yes, bought 73, sold for 170.
Wow.
So we we probably left some money on the table because we didn't go to market. Like we probably could have got $30,000 to $40,000 more if we just let it sit on the market a couple days. But we're still young in this game, and like for my wife and I, it was like a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. We did not want to say, "Oh, what could happen?" We know that a lot of people have deals that sit out on the market. We had one deal right that was sitting on the market for a long time, so we wanted to be able to go and get with some buyers who really wanted to go ahead and get the land right away. So we came up with an agreement. We sold it 0 days on market. Our money was in the account that day. So
Zero
those are
DOM.
yeah. So
So
we had two deals like that so far. Go ahead.
yeah, I was just gonna say, so your first deal took months and months and months to sell, it sounds like, but in between then you had some 0 days on market where you literally put them up and sell it that same exact day, which is
Yeah.
crazy, and it all balances out to a sustainable number, and that's the thing. There's going to be outliers on both sides. There's going to be 0 days on market outliers, and there's also gonna be, 4 or 5 month outliers as well on that end, but it
Correct.
all balances out to a sustainable days on market number.
Yeah. Right now our average days on market is like just under 90 days. So somewhere between, I think it's like 87 days or something like that with all of the stuff. And I mean, we're happy with that. I think that's what you guys kind of teach. Like anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks is where you want to be. Ours is a little bit longer because of this one deal, but we're good. Like we're really happy where we are. And and I guess going back to the question, like what's our goal? Our goal was a deal a month at 15,000, right? So we wanted to make 180,000 for the year, starting in like December 2022 to December 2023. We are just under 120,000, and we have 9 months left to go. So suffice it to say, we met with Ron last week, and we changed our goal for this year because we're already more than halfway. to
Yeah.
that
I
goal.
mean, you're 75% to your 2023 goal, and it's March
Yeah,
7th, the day of recording this. So,
exactly.
yeah, definitely goals needed. That's a really good problem to have, adjusting your goal in a more lucrative favor. So your goal was 180,000. What's your goal adjusting from that now?
Yeah, our new goal is 500K
Yeah, I
between
think that's
now and the goal is here. We're just going to ramp up our mail, right? So we went from 1,500 to 2,000 to 4,000. Now we're going to 8 to 12,000 a month. And thankfully, my wife and I aren't looking to like go crazy with the money that we've gotten within these past few deals. We reinvested it because we really have goals of like long term goals with this business versus. And now, don't get me wrong, I fully believe celebrate, and we did celebrate. We did a couple things, but for the most part, like this money is going back into the business so that we can scale even more.
Yeah, just compound that money back in. I love that. Let's talk about some early hurdles. So, you briefly touched on the deal that took you months and months to sell. That might have been one hurdle to overcome, but you learned a
Mm.
lot through that process and you still made a profit. What has been some of the most challenging things going from that first deal to knowing very little about the business to today, where your goal is 500,000, you're already at $120,000 year to date profit?
Yeah, one of the biggest hurdles is like getting PAs with bad land. And like learning how to evaluate bad land. We've spent a little bit too much time on deals that weren't deals, right? I mean, so sometimes you'll get it where a person sends in a purchase agreement and you're like, oh my gosh, it's so great. You bring it to the call. You and Ron are like, I'm not too sure about this one. And you're all pumped because you got like a purchase agreement.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh no, let me do some more due diligence. Let me show them this is a really good deal. And in the end, you guys were right, right? And that's why we have you, right? To be able to save us that time and that headache. And I think I spent probably in the early months a little bit too long focusing on the bad deals instead of like, all right, let me just turn around, get some more mail out, and getting some more good deals back. I did learn a ton, so it wasn't a complete loss there, but ultimately you want to maximize your time. My wife and I, we work full time, and we are parents to two young children who are very very active in activities all around. So we need to be like really really cognizant of our time and not like really wasting our time on things that are not going to be profitable for us.
Yeah, and that's the thing we see early on, especially is people get emotionally tied to the land.
Yes,
You get
yes,
that purchase agreement back, you maybe see the numbers, see that the profits potential $60,000 to make, but the land's actually crap land.
yeah,
And that's one of those things. We did it early on. We see a lot of people doing it early on. A lot of time, the goal is just to move on from that land and focus on other acquisitions or other leads or getting more mail out. More land will come. You don't need to force deals. That's when you see people
yeah.
getting really, really tight on the margins when they're starting to force deals. And just bad things happen when you force deals.
Yeah, and I mean, you guys teach us that, right? Like you've been consistent with that, so definitely need early on. I needed to hear that more and more because I got it. Like I said, we've got 2025 purchase agreements back quickly, and we were like, oh man, we got all these deals, and then this one, no road accident. This one is in the mountains that no one's gonna want. This one is landlocked, and you can't get an easement or access because the county is like, nope, we're not doing any more easements or access, or you know, there's different opportunities, and these were different, like really significant deals. Like we're talking about deals that were going to net, 40, 50, 60K had they been good deals, but they weren't,
Right.
right? So we spent a lot of time, a bit too much time, I think is one challenge. And then I think a second one is just like remember to be it's a really constant balance of like being aggressive and being patient, right? When you're super aggressive and I would say to anyone like with your mailing schedule, be super diligent about that mailing schedule. Like just know that every 2 weeks, 1 week or whatever, you want the phone to keep ringing versus you're working on a deal, this deal doesn't pan out, and now your phone's not ringing for another 2.5 to 3 weeks because you didn't send out mail in the meantime. And it can be delicate because when you're working on a deal, you're calling, you're doing due diligence, setting up droners, going back and forth. You're doing a lot of activity, and like, okay, well, the next leads will come after I get this deal. But if that deal doesn't pan out to be a deal, now you're in a dead zone. And it's not necessarily a great time to be in that dead zone. I've tried to do a good job of either listening to the calls or going to the weekly webinars to at least hear about other people's deals, just to really just keep my confidence in that, keep my faith up because it can be daunting, right? When you're not seeing as much success. But when you're in the room of other people who are going over deals and they're getting it, you know that, okay, well, if they can get a deal, I'm right behind them, and vice versa, right? I think the community is so great with that, with everyone just kind of sharing their wins, sharing their insights, sharing knowledge, so that you can keep it going.
Exactly. The community is great for picking you up when you're down. Just because you can, like, business isn't a straight line up. You'll
No,
never
not
find a
at all.
business that's just a straight line up, right? You go up a little bit and you come down near to where
Yeah.
you were falling before, and then you go up, but that low point's always higher than the low point previously because you
Yeah.
are going up. It just might not always feel like it, and that's one thing to keep in mind. Like, Wayne did a really good job. He's on a lot of the calls, watching a lot of the videos, and he sees, like, he knows this is a sustainable business. He knows
For
this
sure.
business works. And that's another thing you've done great with, Wayne, is not looking for external excuses like, oh, land flipping doesn't work, or the market's too saturated, or whatever the excuses are. It's more looking internal. What can we do to better our business? Because this business works. I mean,
Yeah.
you just started August 1, and this year to date, you've made $120,000. I mean, this business works. Look internally more than externally, I think is a big point here.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I mean, the process works. I mean, not only you guys, there are, 10 dozens of other coaching courses out there teaching like, oh, land's a viable business. And no, it's not too saturated. I mean, if you really just start to sit back and think how many counties there truly are in the continental US, your mind would be blown. It's funny that I just said that because you talk about challenges. Like analysis paralysis is another huge one, especially when it comes to county selection and then pricing. I
Mhm.
have gotten stuck several times just feeling like I mailed the wrong county. Oh man, I should I do this county or that county, and get like really really stuck. And then I pick my county, and then I get really stuck on the pricing, and I'm like, oh, let me tweak it, and to the point where I'm almost tweaking each individual sales sell of a 2,500 piece mailer, and it's like, wait a second, it's just way too analytical. Get your mail out, get your pricing together, use the community to help get some feedback, and take action. You're going to get purchase agreements back. It was very rare that you send out, if you follow the method that LAO kind of lists out, that you send mail out and you get nothing back. It happens, but it's rare, right? So be consistent in that mail. Get it out there, and don't like get stuck with that analysis paralysis, because you'll be in this program 4 or 5 months and not have sit anything out because you're trying to make everything a little bit too perfect. So I experienced that challenge as well. And once you make that action happen, you're gonna realize, okay, these guys are right. Keep doing it. Just keep doing it. Get on the phone with sellers. Don't wait. Don't wait to get on the phone with a seller. Because when you wait, you just give somebody else an opportunity to come and grab that land, or you give the seller an opportunity to change their mind. Someone in the community told me, like, hey man, sellers are fickle. And it's just so true. One day they're like, yes, let's go. And then the next day something else happens in their life and they're no longer willing to sell the land. So while the iron is hot, while they're ready to make a deal with you.
Yeah, they're at that selling intent in the funnel, the bottom, kind of like the bottom of the funnel. They've gone through their
Yeah.
head. They know they want to sell. They call you. They're expecting to talk to one of the business owners. They're expecting to talk to Wayne. An answering service answers, and then if Wayne didn't call them for 3 days, so many things can happen. They maybe talk to family members, whatever that is. It's really
Right.
important to hit them when
Right.
they're in that step of the funnel. I mean, that's like
Yes.
you just think of the overall sales funnel. They're in it. You got to get them on the phone, lock it up while you can. I really like that you brought that point up. But before this call, Wayne, you talked about how you just locked up just under six-figure deals. So we talked about your goal this year, $500,000 of profit. Are you going
Yeah.
after bigger deals? Because you said you locked up. I assume it's in the 80s or 90s.
Yeah. So this one, that was the one I talked to you about. So we did the 75 and we sold for 170. So we were just under six figures, which was like, but I didn't want to be greedy, right? Like I think that another thing in this business, realize when a good deal is a good deal, take what you can and kind of move on. Um,
Nice.
but we want to do at least one of those a quarter. One of those things that are close to six figures. I think I've gotten a lot better at my pricing at that level, and I've gotten a lot better at knowing how to talk to sellers at that level. Right now, we are in negotiation for a parcel that it should wrap up on Thursday. We're going to get it under contract for like 90. Actually, no, we came back. We're going to get it under contract for like 95. Yep, and we should be able to
Nice.
sell it for 180. So
Very good.
to have these back to back is really really exciting. And I'm really really glad to. And I had to really negotiate with this seller because this is her family land. This is her inheritance. We wanted to make sure that she got something fair. But there's also, this business, we want to make sure that we have significant margin, and we also want to make sure that we have a good deal for the next person to come and get. So when there's a win-win-win on all sides, that's what we really really want. So
Yeah.
that's my goal. I want to live, if I could, in the 20 to 50 acre range, like making deals like that that'll significantly, I can be able to take down for, you know 85 or between 70 and 100,000, and be able to kind of turn that into 140 to 200,000. That'd be ideal, but I'm not neglecting the other opportunities as well. But I really spend a lot of time with pricing to make sure that those ranges are pretty good.
And that's the thing. We look at, from land flipping perspective, we look at things really micro focused on our profit and everything. But like you said, win win win, right? The the seller, she thinks she's getting a steal at 95,000. She thinks she's making good money. She is. She's liquidating an asset for $95,000,
Yeah.
and whatever you close in 2 weeks or whatever that situation is. You just don't know what the alternatives for her are. Maybe she needs money now. Maybe she has a mortgage to pay off, or her kids going to college. You just don't know their situation. Whatever it is, they agreed to sell it at 95,000. She's getting a great win, right? That's a
Yeah,
lot of
she
money to
is.
get in just a couple. So she's getting a win. Wayne's getting a win because he's able to take that now, sell it to a future buyer for 90, 95, 100% of what it's worth when there's not that much good, well priced land out there. So he's creating a future opportunity for the end buyer. And that's just the thing. Like everyone, Wayne's up in the air dancing, throwing money around. The seller's up in the air throwing money around with that 95,000. The future buyer's like, wow, I got a great piece of land. There's just not a lot of great pieces of land out there properly priced, Wayne. So I like that you
Yeah.
brought that win-win-win up. But one other thing I wanted to talk about is partnerships. Do you currently have a partner?
Yeah, my wife.
I figured. I just wanted to make sure we ease in that in case anything changed from October
Oh,
when we
yeah.
talked.
Fair enough.
So,
Fair enough. Yeah. That's still my
so
partner.
yeah, yeah. So let's talk about that. I know you do this with your wife. I just wanted to open up with that. But how do you balance a business partnership and family, your wife? So it's obviously, things can get hairy there. People always stay
Yeah.
away from getting in business with family. I'm personally in business with my brother, as you know.
Yep.
You're in business with your wife. A lot of people do this, father, son, husband,
Mhm.
wife,
Mhm.
brother, sister, brother, brother, whatever it is. Like we see so much of that. So I wanted to touch on that so people don't just hear from me and Ron and I's perspective. Let's hear from you.
Yeah, 100%. I'm a believer in partnerships. Before this, I had an exit with a business partner who we had a lot of success in that business, and I would not have had that success by myself. And I know that the stigma is that, oh, well, I got to give up 50% of the money when I have a partner. Well, 100% of zero is zero. Right. So, I mean, you could really try to do everything by yourself and be super stressed, and then make a little money, or you can get together with someone and really make something fantastic and great. My wife and I have spent a lot of time just making sure that there is a proper balance and division of assignments. And I think that expectation going in, I mean, you can have the business partnership with your family member, you could have it with, anyone else that you may know, an associate, a former coworker, whoever, but there's got to be a like trust there. There's got to be like some inherent trust that you have with that person. B, there's got to be some verification of documents. Like, hey, here's our operating agreement. This is how things are going to be divided. When money gets involved, people reveal who they truly are, and you never want to find out that someone is like not for you basically, after the fact. So you have those operating agreements and you have those legal documents to be able to just be a backup for you just in case anything happens, and it works for both parties. And then C, on the day to day, we're going to split all of the things that we need to do with land, family, whatever. Here's what you're going to do. Here's what I'm responsible for. And we can hold each other accountable to that. In addition, when we're lacking in an area, like I can raise my hand and say, babe, I'm really busy. Can you help me out with pricing? She has no problem jumping in and say, you know what, I'll go ahead and price this next county so we can make sure to get the mail out, because we both have the same goal. And that end point is like to make this business grow. Obviously, it was 180 before, it's 500K now. We both have that same goal, and we both are committed to like making the necessary sacrifices to be able to do that. And it's not always going to be easy. Like last night, for one example, my son wasn't feeling 100%, and I had to stay with him and just like be next to him while I was supposed to be pricing. Well, after he was finally got to bed, it was super late. It was like 12:30. I got off with my son. I put him to bed and I got on the computer and started pricing until like 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. And that's just a sacrifice that
Wow.
comes in. And she was there to be able to help with my daughter and all the other activities. And so like we have that division and we have that equal partnership. So we know, hey, it's not always going to be 50-50. Sometimes it's going to be 60-40, me to her. Sometimes it's going to be vice versa. But we're here to support one another and do whatever we can to be able to make sure that we achieve our goal.
And when those disputes come up, if they ever do, how do you guys handle that? Like just business disputes with each other?
Yeah, I think that being able to, we have this thing called a family meeting, right? And in this family meeting, it's really about communication. One person gets to talk for 20 minutes, the other person gets to talk for 20 minutes, and this is uninterrupted. And then at the end, we discuss resolutions for 20 minutes, right?
Wow.
So the biggest thing that we get is when we have disputes, is someone's not listening to someone else. So when those 20 minutes of like, I get to go all the way through and talk, and you can't retort to my point. Your job is just to listen. Well, then you start realizing, oh, wow, I thought she meant this and she really meant this. My bad. Okay. Or vice versa. So the communication piece, I think, is so necessary because disputes are only there because there's a breach in communication at some point, right?
Right.
So how do we ensure that that breach gets rectified? We got to listen. We got to take time to, okay, here, and really admit I could be wrong, right? We always feel everyone is right all the time. Like, nope, I'm 100% right on this. If you take the time to say, you know what, I could be wrong and just listen to the other person's point of view, you're going to find yourselves with a lot less disputes and a lot more progression to where you need to go.
I love that. Just open your mind up to listen to the other person. 20 minutes is a long time to just start rambling. I could imagine you get I'm thinking to myself, wow, could I talk for 20 minutes straight like that? That's really cool you guys do that. And in
Yeah.
business it might look different. That's it. What'd you call it? Your family, what'd you call it?
Family meeting. Yeah.
Family meeting. So in business,
Hmm.
maybe it'll be a business meeting and shorten the 20 to maybe 5 or 10 minutes,
Right.
once a week, just so the other person can hear them out. I just think that communication is key. Ron and I do a Monday meeting every Monday at 12:30. We do a meeting going over the previous week and updating it. There's a criteria to what we do and kind of a flow to it. But we
Yeah.
go over key points and then key things we need to talk about, and then kind of hear each other out on, because we have different roles and responsibilities. Kind of hear out what they're facing, hear out what I'm facing, and then kind of wrap it up from there. So uh, there's a lot of people who think there's too many meetings, which can be the case. You don't want too many meetings, but you need to make sure that communication is free flowing in some way.
Absolutely. And honestly, in most of the cases, and I mean, this is like marriage advice slash business advice. It's like someone's not feeling listened to, someone's not feeling heard, right? And it could be both of you, right, who are not feeling heard. So doing this format allows the other person a platform to be heard. When you're being able to just kind of go over like what's the issues that you're having, and at the end you work together towards solutions. I mean, everyone's happy at the end of the day because, like, I got my platform. Someone could actually hear me. Because I guarantee you, 9 times out of 10, you're going back from an argument or a dispute, and you're like, man, he's just not listening, or she's not
Yep.
listening, right? So this kind of gives you that platform to be able to have someone ensure that they're listening.
Absolutely. Well, we just turned the real estate podcast into a real estate slash therapy session there.
There you
No, I
go.
love it. It goes hand in hand, especially if you guys have partners. Like this is really good advice. What last thing to kind of bring up, Wayne, for anyone
Sure.
starting out or maybe they're hitting a hurdle, they're thinking about getting started. What advice do you have for someone starting out?
Yeah, get going, get started. I mean, I would not try to do this alone. Do not rely. I mean, these YouTube videos and these interviews are fantastic. They're great, but get in, invest inside of yourself to be able to see the success that you want to. And if you can't do it right now, as far as like by yourself, partner with someone, put money together so that you can go in and watch the videos together and figure out how you can best make that happen. Be able to do that, and you're gonna see results a lot faster than if you're just trying to figure out and put all the pieces together from Google. I know people say, "Oh, all the information they give you is on Google." Okay, good luck finding it. It's going to take you a year and a half to put it all together. They've already
Right.
got it in a course for you. You don't have to go find anything. So you've saved a whole bunch of time and money just being able to invest in yourself and get into a program, get into a community like this. And honestly, like utilize the community. Like we know there's a free Discord out there. Go ask people questions. You're not gonna get anywhere in business without sacrificing and doing things that make you nervous. So maybe talking to brand new people makes you nervous, right? Maybe the whole sales concept makes you nervous. Maybe sending out random letters to random people makes you nervous. You're gonna have to do the thing that scares you to be able to really get to the success that you want. So,
Absolutely. Well, as always, Wayne, thanks again for joining. We
Of
appreciate you
course.
coming on here.
Thanks so much for having me again, Dan.
As always, thank you for joining. Please do us a huge favor and like and subscribe our YouTube channel and share this with a friend. It really means the world to Ron and I, but more importantly, it could help change the life of someone else. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you next episode.